sending the Grizzlies to a 31-15 record overall, but they're 11-12 on the road. But it brings my first question.
Matthew, I got to
Suns
ask.
Geek. So I'll start with Suns Geek on this one, okay? And Matthew, you can answer this as well, but it's real simple. Are the Grizzlies the most hated team in the NBA right now? And if so, why?
They're one of them because according to social media, Twitter, the Phoenix Suns are the most hated team in the NBA, and to some, YouTuber content creators out there, they're their most hated team. But the Grizzlies they're climbing up there. Why? Are the Grizzlies now
and the Suns? Why both? Why are we hated?
I don't know, man, because we have Chris Paul, and apparently he's the most hated point guard of all time, apparently. And because Devin Booker is a superstar in this league, and the NBA world doesn't want to accept that. And, because of the Game 7 stuff and yada, yada, yada. You guys already know. But the Memphis Grizzlies, though, they are working their way up as one of the most hated teams in the league. I guess it really all started with the whole, we good in the West thing, and then that hallway dancing stuff they do or whatever. But, I guess we can kind of find common ground because apparently we're the villains of the NBA, and so are the Grizzlies now, and we're in the same conference and all that. So I don't really know if that answers your question, but I don't know. I'm pretty petty about the whole Suns being the most hated team. It's the social media trolls, man.
What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, so the thing is with the Grizzlies, they acted like they won the championship before they won.
Yeah.
I think last year they were calling a shot, this year saying this is their year. John Morant put it out there with his interview. And once you do that, the target's on your back from the fans, from other teams themselves. It's going to be there. The Suns kind of got there because they were kicking everybody's ass last year, but they never really talk a lot of shit. They really didn't. I think the fans did a lot. Booker would during games a few times, maybe to some fans on the side.
True.
But during games, Booker went through a stage where he talked shit, but they were on a winning streak. Like, they were owning teams. He was owning the NBA at that point. The thing is, like, Memphis just thinks they kind of won it before they actually won it. Like, even Klay Thompson in the middle of the playoff run last year, when they're in the finals, he points out in a press conference, this Warriors team or this Grizzlies team is, they're a joke. They haven't won anything yet. So when you start doing that, it's going to be pretty tough for you to win anything because these teams will get up. The Suns team will get up for you, even though they don't have their closer and Devin Booker there. They're gonna come out there and kick your ass. And the Suns, they're just hated because they won. And a lot of people don't like Devin Booker, but it was just kind of weird. I don't know why the Suns are really hated. I think when you start winning, people hate you, but the Grizzlies kind of did it themselves. The Suns kind of avoided that last year, but they still were hated.
Well, I think that, Suns Geek hit it on the head with a hammer, and it was a nail.
I like that, yeah.
He hit the nail on the head with the hammer when he said it was social media, right? Like, so for those of us who are actively engaged on social media, especially Twitter, follow me at Darth Voida, follow him at Matthew Lissy, follow him at Suns Geek. We see the comments, we see the trolls, we see the people who don't like other teams that have success. And the Phoenix Suns, they set themselves up last season, especially after the NBA Finals run. Yeah, it didn't help that a lot of members of the Phoenix Suns social media sphere were massive shit talkers and people who didn't really know what it was like to win and how to win. You couple that with after games, the Phoenix Suns, who won 64 games last season, were doing workout videos. And they're in the back of the arena, and like Chris Paul and Devin Booker are doing push-ups off of workout balls. And
winners work,
exactly. And as a fan base, we get behind that. We're like, yeah, that's why this team is being as successful as they are. They're grinding it out because even after a game, winners work. From the outside looking in, and I say this now through the lens of observing who and what the Memphis Grizzlies are, it's kind of cringy. You're like, okay, yeah, you guys just won a game and now you're doing push-ups and you're posting that on social media. Like, that is kind of cringy right there, right? The Memphis Grizzlies have taken that mantle from the Phoenix Suns. One, because the Phoenix Suns, nobody cares about them anymore. Anytime you get into any type of, I wouldn't say Twitter argument, but just simple exchange, the Phoenix Suns have a history of negative moments that any fan base can pull upon and just shut you up because they're right. We've never won anything. We've never hurt anybody's feelings completely. I wouldn't say completely. Like look at Denver fans, for example. Like their feelings were hurt because we beat them in 4 games, and in true Phoenix Suns fans fashion, we didn't handle it well. The Suns in 4 guy and all that shit. So there is some repercussions from that. What you're seeing from Memphis is just what my 2 podcasting partners just stated, was the fact that this team is dancing in the back, kind of like the Suns did last year. Ja Morant is saying, there's no one in the West that he really thinks can challenge the Memphis Grizzlies, despite the fact that with their loss today against the Phoenix Suns, against the Western Conference, they are now 15-12. They're 16-3 against the Eastern Conference. They should ask who scares him coming out of the East. If he said nobody, that would have had some more validity to it. But they've put a target on their back from opposing teams, and they've put a target on their back from opposing fans due to the cringiness of some of the actions that they've done, coupled with members of their roster. As Matthew said, Chris Paul is a member of the Phoenix Suns. Guess what? We're going to always have, or maybe Suns Geek said it. Yeah. Brandon said it. He's like, we have Chris Paul on the team. Therefore, people will hate us. They have Brooks on their team. Therefore, people will hate them. When you look at that, and it was just interesting coming into this game, thinking about that because of who they are and the way that they've acted, and then to see the way that they responded today. And I'll get to the subreddit stakeout in a little bit, but it's more than just the team, it's the fans. When you go to a subreddit stakeout, you go to the subreddit of the opposing team, and they always have a game thread. Last time I did subreddit stakeout against the Memphis Grizzlies, literally the name of the thread was like, fuck Chris Paul. The name of the thread today was, it's game day. Your Memphis Grizzlies take to the road to face the Northern Arizona Suns, RIP, in a rare NBA versus G League matchup. That's what their subreddit stated. And then the Phoenix Suns came out in the first quarter. They went 32 points, Memphis Grizzlies 18, outscored them 30-19 in the second quarter. Yes, they hung on by 2, but it just goes to show you the cringiness, if you will, the cockiness, if you will, of that fan base. They still have a long way to go, and we can understand that because of where we've been, right, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my final thoughts on this really are, and look, I'll be fair. Last year, let's be real, the Suns did talk shit. They did. It kind of made me mad at times. I was like, yo, let's just chill for a little bit. At the same time, I was kind of part of that at times too, especially on Twitter and all that. But I will say this, is that the Grizzlies are kind of doing what the Suns have done now. And in all fairness, at times, I really feel like the Phoenix Suns can't do anything right, according to certain people on, social media and all that. And when I reference the whole, sometimes NBA content creators are making videos about the Suns, I was sent a video saying, the Suns are the most hated team in the league. And I just shook my head, didn't even bother to watch it. Yeah. And I feel like the Grizzlies are climbing up the rankings there. And it's just really tricky. Like you were saying with the subreddit stakeout and everything, I feel like a lot of people follow the narratives and the headlines, and it's sad because they really don't know what's going on, in my opinion. I'm not saying everybody does. I don't want to sound like I'm a gatekeeper or anything, but I just feel like a lot of people follow the headlines. They see the memes or whatever. They see the quick highlights on Instagram, and that's their picture of the Phoenix Suns, and it's bad. Unfortunately, the Suns have to overcome that. They have to start winning and not get embarrassed in the playoffs again to overcome that, in my opinion. I don't really know if that answers your question, but
no, totally. I think what Memphis does, I think it's cool. They do the dancing in the hallway before. It's fine. The Suns used to dance before every game last year.
Yeah.
Aiden would pick up the mop stick and use it as a microphone while the warm-ups were happening. When you're winning, it's fun. It's fine. And you can talk shit. Every team does. Every fan base should talk shit. It's fun. That's what sports is. The fact that Morant did say that there's no one in the West that can compete, that's the only reason. Because I was a big Memphis fan. I love Memphis. I love Morant. I picked him to win MVP last year. I love this team. I love Baines. I think he's amazing. I wish he was on the Suns, obviously. I love Adams. I like their team a lot. I like JJJ. I do. Now they're hated because of that. If they're winning, if they play hard, it doesn't matter. Booker did such a good job last year with the All-Star game where he talked to Draymond Green, where he was doing the sideline stuff. And he's like, so you think the Suns can come out of the West? And he's like, well, we'll take it one game at a time. Whatever he said. Yeah. Professional answer. You don't want to give them anything to think we're douchebags over here. Yeah, anything between the lines. we're going to talk shit. We're going to be that team that's going to hate the other team and just demolish them because we're that much better. There's no reason they really hate that from other teams. It's just those comments. That's the only thing. So can't go back on it now. It's too late.
Yeah, true. And again, it's one of those fine lines. I mean, obviously, Matthew and I, we have the Suns Jam session podcast. Suns Geek, you run a fantastic YouTube channel, and you're constantly creating Phoenix Suns content out there. So we have different opinions of our team and different opinions of the opposing team. And sometimes we contribute to that narrative. We are people who have a voice, much akin to a lot of our fellow watchers and listeners. You have a voice as well. And that's the beautiful thing about this. It's the fun thing about this. Amen. Is we can all get together and talk about what we view this Phoenix Suns team to be, what we view the opposition to be, what frustrates us about our team, what frustrates us about opposing teams. At the end of the day, I think it's all meant in good fun. Like if I saw Dylan Brooks in person, yeah, okay, I still would probably punch him in the face if I can get away with it.
Yeah,
but he looks like a WWE guy, and I'm afraid he would body slam me.
We're talking about his hair; it's really bad. Just the guy has a rough look, but it's
he's got a rough look. He's got a rough game,
rough attitude.
He just rough attitude.
They were talking about it's nice to have a player like that on your team.
No, it's not.
If I had Dylan Brooks, I liked him actually. I did. It's so weird. I liked him going into last season. Then last season on, then I started to not like him. I hated him a little bit. But John's always been on the boat ever since college. So
yeah, I've hated him since he was at Oregon.
That's why I sent you that tweet earlier, John.
Yes, I saw. Yeah, right after the flagrant foul, you hit me up, and I was just another reason to hate him.
Yep.
Another reason to hate him. There's always a reason to hate him. Real quick in the chat, Legend E. Wait, John, how is Lamar Jackson overrated? Somebody tweeted, this is a total sidebar, but somebody tweeted out today and they said, name somebody who's more overrated than Josh Allen. I said Lamar Jackson. He overrates himself. That's the end of that. And I like what Aussie Suns fan podcast says. He said, I would punch Brooks so fucking hard, the repercussions would be so worth it. It's just, and again, this is what happens when I love everything about Memphis except Dylan Brooks.
Wow,
like he really frustrates me.